Hi, this time I'm going to be making a part for a customer. Welcome to another episode. Hi, my name is John. This time I decided to take on a project for a customer I ran into on Facebook. He's someone who has a Tormach, but he was out of town and wanted a Christmas present for his grandfather. He wanted some emblems for a four-wheel drive car, front and back, machined out of aluminum with the machine mark so that it looked like it was machined. And I thought that would be a lot of fun. So I bid on it. I took a guess and then reduced the price a little bit because this is my first time. And once I got the part, I discovered that there were some things that were a little more challenging than I expected. So let me take you to the computer and I'll show you the design and explain some of the challenges. The customer created a 3D model. Here you can see the sketch that he had in Fusion 360. And there's a ruler underneath it. So if I had looked carefully, I would have noticed that there were some details less than 1/16 of an inch, such as between the upper right of the 4 and the upper left of the W. Now, I did talk to the customer after I found out about this, and he said it would be okay not to mill it all the way through, and he could probably use black or something like that to make it look like it was deeper than it really was. But I wanted to see if I could mill it all the way through, and we'll come back to that. This is the 3D model I got from the customer that has, as you can see, a fillet on the top and the bottom. And a fillet is more difficult to create than a chamfer. So I checked with the customer, and he said that a chamfer would be fine on the top, and that I didn't need a chamfer on the bottom because it's going to be taped or glued to the car. So that made things easier. Now, that also meant I wanted a model without the fillets, and I could have selected all the fillets and deleted them. Instead, I chose to just use the outline, create a new sketch, and then extrude that. And then I'll add the chamfer is just a cam operation. In the cam view, you can see this is the stock that I started with, and I have the model so that it's in between the top and the bottom. And the reason I did that is because what I wanted to do is I wanted to mill the front while I had plenty of material on the back to keep it stiff. And then what I wanted to do is flip it over and then mill away a lot of the material on the back, but leaving a thin 5/1000 border around it so that I could try the technique of hammering this out to remove it from the stock. And you'll see how that works in a little bit. So the other thing I wanted to do is for the adaptive, I wanted to have a pleasing pattern for the customer because he wanted this emblem to have a machined look to it. So I played around with it until I got a spacing that I thought would look pretty nice. And this is what I ended up with. So let's take a look at the machine and you'll see the process of actually making this. It's been more than a few days since I used the machine. So the first thing I need to do, of course, is turn on. And then once it comes on, I'm going to run the warm-up cycle, which goes from 500 to 30,000 RPM over 20 minutes. Next, I need to reset, and then power up restart. So cycle door, go to cycle, power up restart, and now it's zeroing everything. Okay, now I'm going to load the warm-up program, so I'll go to list programs. And then I need to go over to hard drive, which is where I put it. Press right enter. It's the one at the bottom, so I can press page down and then select program, and now it's ready to go. I press cycle start. It says I need to warm it up. I know. So I'll press cycle start again, and now it's starting the cycle. And currently it's on about 1,000 RPM, so it starts up at 1,000, I thought it was 500, and goes up to 30,000 RPM. So this is going to take 20 minutes. While it's going to do that, I'm going to go down and check the coolant. And as you can see, I also need to clean out this tray. There's a bunch of aluminum in there. But what I want to do first is just lift this up so I can get to the coolant. And I'm going to put a drop on the refractometer. And then have a look to see what it's currently reading. And it's currently reading at 7, so I'd like to add some water to this because I'd like it to be closer to 6.5. Now you'll notice the water has a tint to it, and I think it's because of what was in here before, which is the oil. When it's coming out, it's still fairly clear. This is about, 6 inches deep. So when it's thinner, it doesn't show it quite as much. So I'm going to pour in about half a gallon. This is just distilled water. And there's some gunk along here, so I can tell that this is the type of thing that I was seeing from the oil before. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's now at 6.5, so I'll call that good. And this filter is a filter that I read about, so I put it in here and it's working really well. It's keeping the chips here. I'll put a link to the filter down below. But I have this bucket and I've been putting the chips into the bucket. Okay. I ordered some material from Xometry and it came in a tube, which is fine, but I hate the way they've done the tops. If anyone knows of an easier way to get these off, I'd love to hear about it. This is the way I do it. They have staples around the outside. And then of course the staples are pretty nasty, so you just need to be careful. But there's my material. For this job I got some smaller end mills. These are long reach end mills, so this one is 32 thousandths and the length of cut is 7.6 millimeters. It's kind of weird that they mix the two measurements. And then this one is 62 thousandths and 11.45 millimeters, so about almost half an inch. So I need to mount these in the collets, and I've got two holders here. These are higher quality collets that I have been using, and so these have oil on them, so I'm going to need to clean them first. Okay. And then I want to chuck this in as far as I can. Let me zoom in. Okay, I'm zoomed in. So I want to have as little stick out as possible so it's as rigid as it can be. And that should work right there. Now, I don't have a tightening fixture yet, so I took a 11/15 wrench and then I ground it off on both sides to make it thin enough so that it would fit in there. And this is not ideal. I do have on my list making a tightening fixture, but let me do it so you can see it. But this does work. You can see how small that is. And this is why I need a tightening fixture. Okay. Here's where I'm really taking advantage of the 30,000 RPM spindle. This is with the 1/16 inch end mill, and it's roughing out the material that was left behind by the larger cutter in areas that the larger cutter was not able to reach. Here's a 1/32 inch end mill, which is finishing the last little bits and pieces on the top side or the front side. And this took about half an hour, which is a pretty long time. But I was experimenting and seeing how this would work out, and it was great. Okay, there it is. Side one is finished. You can see I have the nice pattern on the front, which is the distinctive. Oops, I just realized I forgot to do chamfering. So I'm going to have to add a chamfering cycle and put it back in there. Now it's on to the back side. The first step is to use adaptive to remove the material from the back, except for really close to the outer edge. I kept a little bit of extra material close to the outer edge so that it would stay in place. And then I'd have to use a hammer to basically break that thin layer loose. But if you look carefully, you're going to see that some of the parts are actually all the way through, like where it is now. You can see it's darker in the middle. And here you can also see it's milling away some of that extra material. So this is how I got most of the material off between the letters, but not around the outside. So you can see the mostly cut out around the edges. I'm going to have to do a little bit of cleanup, but it's kind of working. I'm not sure this was the best approach. Okay. Didn't come out quite as perfect as I want, but this should be able to be something I can trim real easily with the Noga. Now, if I had a belt sander, that would have made it really easy to skim that bottom bit off, the 5/1000s, and I would have had a part that was perfect. One of the things that I didn't mention is I actually went down a little bit lower on the sides so that I would have material to clean up. Now, because I didn't have a belt sander, I ended up using a flat file, and that cleaned it up quite nicely, and I'm pretty happy with the results, and you can see the photographs here of what it looks like. I've already shipped the parts off, so unfortunately I can't show you a video of them, of me holding them. Now let me head back to the cam and show you some of the tricks that I used to get that really thin layer around the outside. And I think next time if I were to do this again, I'd probably make it a little bit thinner and, as I said, get a belt sander. So on the back side I have three operations. The first one is an adaptive, and this is what removed the material in between a lot of the letters. But it doesn't actually go all the way to the perimeter here, and that's so that there's still stock holding it in place while it's milling it. The next step goes over where the material is that was holding it in place, but you can see that I'm leaving 5,000 stock to leave, and that's again to make sure it doesn't chatter. And then finally I did another pass, and for this one I actually had some tabs I think that I put in here because I didn't want it to fall out. And for this one I set it to, whoops, wrong thing, 5/10 stock to leave. So I don't think I had these parameters exactly the way they should have been because things didn't feel like they came out exactly the way I wanted, but it worked. And this allowed me to do an interesting part without having to do soft draws or some other mechanism to hold it on the other side. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly really enjoyed making this part. It gave me some challenges. It allowed me to try out some things that I wanted to try out. I had tried using long reach end mills before, but it took quite a long time. Having a 30,000 RPM spindle certainly makes it faster. The other thing is I wanted to try out having the thin layer around it and being able to knock it out. I think the tabs were too thick. Looking at things again, I could see that they were about 5/1000 of an inch thick. I think I would make them a little bit thinner the next time around, but That approach certainly has a lot of promise, and as I've said a couple times already, I need a belt sander. So please give me a thumbs up if you like this, comment below, and I'll see you next time.